What's going on? It's Daniel Gillespie here with UponArriving.com, and in this video I'm going to break down the new credit card software I've been working on called WalletFlo. So WalletFlo is a digital smart wallet that helps you to optimize and manage your credit cards via effortless automation. So this is going to be version 1, and what you're seeing is probably about an 80-85% complete product. And the core feature in this version is going to be the automation of all terms and conditions. So whenever you want to apply for a card, any of those rules and credit card applications that apply are going to be automated. And you'll also see some other features that help you just optimize your cards in various ways and keep tabs on things. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and jump into the demo, but feel free to let me know in the comments below any of your feedback, any of your questions, and I'll try to get to those when I can. Thanks a lot. Okay, so this is the main login page for WalletFlo, and I'm just going to go ahead and log in to show you the platform, and you can see it loading up. There we go. Just disregard the timeline here right now because this is going to be reformatted when we launch, so it's going to look more like this right here, but just sort of disregard that for now and I'll get back to it. So I just wanted to start off with the sidebar on the left here and walk you through some of the features. So the first feature that you're going to see is the profiles tab over here. So you can see DG, my initials, BKG, my spouse's initials, and this allows you just to create up to 2 profiles for you and a partner, spouse, whatever, so that you can keep tabs on your separate accounts, separate credit cards. And there's also this all tab which combines everything together and is actually very helpful for some features, and I'll talk about that later. But it's just good to know that you can have up to 2 profiles. It's easy to create. You just hit this button right here, and then there you go. And underneath each profile you'll see 4 tabs. In this case, the first tab is the wallet tab, and this is where your cards, your active cards, and your closed cards will live. Now if you look at my cards, this is where all of your active cards will live. And by the way, if you ever have a question about a feature, we have a lot of these info boxes placed throughout the platform, and they are there to basically guide you through the process, showing you what a feature is for and how it can help. So always feel free to check on that if you're ever in question about a feature's purpose. So in this case, if you click on my cards, or if you look at my cards, you can see 25, which shows you that I have 25 active cards. And if you click on the drop down, you'll see the issuers and a number beside them showing you again how many cards you have with each issuer. And then you can click on the issuer to see all of your cards. So you'll see the card name and the card art. And then you can click on a card and this will show you some of the key features. So you'll see things like the Amex. You can just ignore the credit limit for now. This is obviously a charge card, but you can see the open dates, if this is an authorized user, if there are credits, what points that the card earns, annual fee. So obviously there's some junk still in here because we're still doing testing and things like that, but you'll see this information, and we also should have information boxes for the points and the credits, so you'll be able to get a full picture of your card. This section right here is going to be removed and going to be replaced with a really cool feature that I'm actually not going to talk about until we get it out, but it's going to just make things just even more helpful when it comes to managing your credit cards. And in the future we'll also include perks on this light box. So when it comes to things like your free nights or what travel insurance or extended warranty your card has, you'll see all of those appear here again with access to light boxes and things, or information boxes, so that you can get all of the relevant details you need. Okay, so that's your my cards. So again, just think of my cards as basically your digital wallet, right, where you keep track of all your cards. And then you also have your closed accounts here. So you can keep tabs on all of the accounts that you've closed over time. If you click on here, you'll see the close date here. And this is really important for certain issuers like American Express because they have the once per lifetime rule, and it can potentially reset after, say, like 7 years after you have closed a card. So really important to keep track of that. Also, a lot of business cards don't report to your personal credit report, so by having them stored here, it's an easy way to keep tabs on them. And I also just think it's good general record keeping to keep tabs of all your closed accounts. And if you were wondering how to add a card, it's really easy. There's actually going to be an add card button here that's super convenient, but for now you can just add them here. You can go over here and select your issuer. If you don't know your issuer, you can just start to type in whatever card that you are looking for. So, you know, Chase Sapphire, it'll pop up and you can select it. You can give it a nickname, my CSP3, whatever. Enter in your credit limit, again, optional. But I would put in your credit limit because we do have some features that we want to implement in the future. And then the account open date, which is mandatory. So you can select it by calendar. Pretty simple, self-explanatory stuff. And then you can select if this is an authorized user account. We're going to add one more feature to select whether or not you received a bonus with this account. And then you can just simply add the card and it'll show up in your wallet. So now I have 26 cards. So again, this is really easy to keep track of all of your cards, whether they're open or closed, and that's kind of the purpose of the wallet tab. Now below that you'll see the cheat sheet, and I'm going to come back to that in a second. You can probably already tell kind of what the purpose is, but let's move on to the apps tab. Now the apps tab has the most powerful and unique feature of WalletFlo, which is this ability to automate your credit card eligibility. So all of those terms and conditions that now are becoming more common and complex with all of the issuers, it seems like every few months there are new rules that require you to jump through more hoops to get different cards, and they also are getting longer and longer with their eligibility periods. So it's just becoming more time consuming and more complex to track, and that is what WalletFlo really is trying to address. So what you can do here is you can click on your this button here, check card eligibility, and now you can just select a card to see when you can apply. So let's say I'm interested in an Amex card, the Hilton Aspire. As soon as you click on a card, you'll see all of the rules that apply to this card. In this case, there are 4 of them. You have the 1.5 rule, 290 rule, 4 or 5 card limit, and once per lifetime rule. So a lot of people may not even know about some of these rules, especially beginners, and even people like me who have been around for a long time and are more advanced. We know about these rules, or at least most of them. I think some of the rules will even surprise people who are very experienced with credit cards, because I did not even realize that there were a lot of these rules. But you know, even for experienced people, it's still just a hassle sometimes to go and keep tabs on these things. And so what the idea is to just automate it all. So you don't have to go and find these rules, you don't have to interpret them, and best of all, you don't have to apply them. They all will be applied to your individual credit card portfolio, basically. So in this case, you can see the rules here. You can see in green that I'm compliant with almost all of them except this once per lifetime rule. So I've had the card before, so in this case it's basically saying you're not eligible until 2026. Now I think we're going to modify this to say, you know, you might be eligible, right? Because it's never necessarily guaranteed, but the idea is just to kind of show you what your status is for eligibility. And also, beside each rule, you can click on an info box to get a more in-depth explanation of the rule. And then if you want to find out more details, there's always going to be a link where you can go to my blog and you can find a detailed and up-to-date article on the rule that kind of breaks down, you know, all the exceptions, because that's one of the things is with credit card rules, you have a lot of exceptions and a lot of kind of like your mileage may vary type of thing. So that is one thing that we want to make sure users are able to find out in an easy and efficient way when it comes to the rules. So you can always click on an article and you can get the full scoop on the rule. Okay, so now that you've seen the rules and the eligibility, now I want to show you what you can do with the card as far as adding it to your profile. So one thing you can do is click on this add card button, and then it's going to walk you through a series of questions, and based on your response, it's going to give you a recommendation of what to do. So the first question, did you apply for this card? If I hit no, I can go ahead and add this to my future apps. Now when I add this to my future apps, what it's going to do is it's going to show up here, and I can go down to the bottom and at any time I can click on it and I can see the rules and how they apply again. And the cool thing is once you've added it to your future apps, you'll get a notification when you're compliant. So you don't even have to check back on these things. It could take months, years for you to be compliant, but you can just put this on complete cruise control and just let it do its thing. And whenever you are finally eligible, you will get a notification. So that is also a super time-saving feature here, is just automating the reminders. So I'm just going to go back to the Aspire for a second and show you the other features that you can do. So did you apply for this card? I already showed you. If you hit no, you can add it to your future apps. But if you hit yes, then it's going to ask you, did you get approved? Well, if you hit yes again, it's going to allow you to add it to your wallet, and you'll just input your open date, which will probably be that date if you applied right then and there. And but if you would click add wallet down here. If you did not get approved, then it's going to ask you, did you get rejected? If yes, you did get rejected, you can add it to rejected apps, which again is over here. And it's super helpful because over time, sometimes you might notice trends of banks that just don't like you. Like Bank of America just does not like me. I'm pretty sure it's because I never opened up a deposit account or anything with them. But it is very helpful to keep tabs on which banks just kind of don't like you so that you can potentially avoid rejections in the future. Or do something that will help your approval odds. So if you did not get rejected yet, though, then you can add it to pending apps. And pending apps is right here. So eventually I think we're going to work these more into the notifications so that maybe like a week after you get rejected or send a card to pending, you'll get a reminder saying, hey, here's a reconsideration line you can call, and here are the tips and things that you need to say. So again, we're really trying to just automate the entire process and to walk users through it as easily as possible. So that's the Amex rules, but you can also see rules for all the other major issuers. I'll just show you a couple real quick. I mean, you've got Sapphire, Reserve here. You can see the 524 rule. So an easy way to calculate your 524 status, just come and check a Chase card. And you can see not compliant until May the 8th of 2021. The 230 rule, and once again, if you have questions about the rules, just click on an info box and then click on the link that will take you to an article to explain the rule. The Sapphire 48-month rule. So again, these are, all automated, and if you think about the time that it would take you to just go through all of these rules and check them, I mean that's a decent amount of time, not to mention the fact that a lot of people may get mixed up, or just have to deal with things like you go to check your credit report and then all of a sudden you mess up on an identity question or something, and now you have to go through this whole process. So having it all here at any time, you can just go check your eligibility for any card, I think is a huge time saver for a lot of people. Not to mention the fact that you don't actually have to go research the cards. And also for people who sort of like to take a break from credit card rewards, maybe they want to build up their credit score for a while because they're getting ready to buy a house or a car, or just want to take a break from it, they can sign up for WalletFlo, input their information, and then they could come back 9-12 months later and not have to worry about getting up to speed on all of the rule changes and policy changes, because all of those are going to be updated in real time here. So any changes will basically be right in front of you. So I think that's going to be really key for some people. But again, the Capital One rules here. I'm going to show one more Citi. So it's just maybe Expedia card. So you can see here I'm actually eligible. I don't have an Expedia card in the last 24 months. No personal, or that actually needs to be edited, but we'll fix that. No, or less than 2 cards in the last 65 days. And then this Citi 6 inquiries rule. So, some of these are kind of cautionary rules, just telling you, hey, Citi may deny you if you have 6 credit inquiries over the last 6 months. And eventually we'll have all of the rules automated in a way, but some of these are going to be sort of advisory rules until we're able to implement them with automation. Okay, so now that you have seen the apps tab and everything that can do, let's go over to the points tab. So the points tab is going to give you a breakdown of all of your bonus categories and show you how valuable that those bonus categories are. So at the top here is all purchases. This would be a category where you'll earn this rate on any purchase that you make, right? And all of the cards in here are going to be ranked from the highest earning to the lowest earning. So in this case, we have the Blue Business Plus, and you can see it earns 2x, and there's a valuation attached to it of 3.5%. So what we've done is we've gone and averaged valuations from major blogs out there and gotten a kind of middle ground average on valuations so that things aren't too extreme. And then we've used the multiplier of the bonus category, which in this case, we're talking about 2x here as the multiplier. And so what this is showing you is that you're getting an equivalent of 3.5% cash back on your earnings. So this is going to be a great way to kind of compare your miles and points to cash back earnings. So for a lot of beginners, they can get thrown off by the multipliers because they're not really familiar with the point valuations. And this would be a prime example. I mean, you have a Amex card earning 2x, which comes out to about 3.5%. But if you go down here to this to the Aspire, you would see 3x on all purchases. So if you're new to the game, you may see, oh, 3x, yeah, I want to use that instead of 2x. But really, that's almost the Amex is way more valuable at 2x. So this is really kind of to help people sort out their highest earning cards. And eventually we do want to offer customization for the valuations because they are so subjective. We may even have kind of a sliding scale where you can choose more conservative valuations or be more liberal with it. It just sort of depends on your personal preference. But again, the info boxes though are going to be helpful here because this card does earn 2x, but only up to $50,000 spent each year. So you'll be able to see that in the information box and then also be able to follow links out to see what more about those bonus categories, which could be really helpful. So if you're looking at a card like the Ink Business Cash, you can see 5x on these different categories like office supply stores. And if you have a link that takes you out to an in-depth review of these bonus categories, then you can find out like, oh, I can actually go to an office supply store, earn 5x on a gift card at my favorite restaurants or retail stores or even grocery stores. So that's going to be really helpful to help people optimize their cards. And so again, all the categories are broken down, and you can again find out more details. In this case, this is only 4x at US supermarkets for the Amex Gold card. So these are really important details that are there. So I'm going to go back to the cheat sheet now that you've talked about the points tab, because what the cheat sheet does is it takes the top earner from each category and shows it here. So in this case, you can see the Blue Business Plus, we already know, was the top earner, the gold cards for dining, groceries. So it shows you the top earner by percentage. And this is going to be really handy for just optimizing your wallet so that you don't have to do a lot of work to see what are your best cards. Also will be handy for someone that maybe has a spouse or partner who is not as well versed in credit cards and maybe is always asking you like, oh, what cards should I use for this or that? This will show them what card to use. And the cheat sheet's going to be updated in real time. So when it comes to quarterly categories like a Chase Freedom or Discover It, those rotating 5% quarterly categories will be automatically updated in the cheat sheet. So for you or spouse or whoever, they'll always see what the most valuable cards are. And once again, we want to eventually allow you to customize this. Maybe you choose your own categories, your own order. You might even create your own categories. So like maybe you want to segregate your expenses for certain types of things, like maybe pet expenses, or maybe you have businesses, whatever it is. So you would be able to create your own category and then put it in the cheat sheet for your own, to remind yourself or to remind somebody else, like, hey, this card is designated for this or that. And that could be pretty helpful for segregating expenses as well. And the other way that we were thinking about customizing it is allowing you to kind of prioritize earnings. So maybe you just want to prioritize all your cashback cards, right? So you could just select cashback and then it's going to only populate your cashback cards. Or maybe you want to prioritize something like United Miles and you only want to find cards that earn you United miles, well, in that case, you'll be able to select United, and then it would prioritize obviously United credit cards, but also cards that earn transferable points to United, like Chase cards. So those are kind of some ideas that we're thinking about right now. It is more static, but those are some things to keep in mind. So the final tab is the fees tab. So all of your annual fees are going to be added up here, and you'll see them clearly stated at the top, and they will be organized based on a descending order with the highest annual fee at the top. And underneath each annual fee, your credits will be listed. So this is a great way to just keep track of all of your credits for your credit cards. And once again, the info boxes come in handy. I think one of these is kind of shown. Yeah, so like you can see, okay, this dining credit for the gold card, you get $10 monthly dining credits with certain restaurants and food delivery services like Uber Eats. Click here to learn more. You can click on the article and see commonly asked questions like, do gift cards apply? What stores does this work for? What kind of products can I get? Like things like that are just going to help you to find your answers easier. Again, think of WalletFlo as sort of a hub of information related to your credit card, so that any questions or about features or anything that you have are all going to be conveniently located in one place. And the other thing that you'll notice is the effective fees. So the effective fees just subtract all your credits from the annual fee. So if you were maxing out these credits each year, this is what your effective annual fee would be. And this will be helpful to just get a grasp on what your cards are. Now there is obviously a glitch here showing 450. This should be like negative 50 or something like that. But here, the gold card has an effective fee of $30, and that is just awesome to see, like right off the bat. Oh, okay, if I use these credits, then this effective fee is only $30. So again, the idea is to kind of educate consumers, educate people on how expensive their cards really are. And the next step, I think, of this will be allowing you to input spend for your credit cards on your estimated amount of spend for like dining and travel, for example, and then that will factor into your annual fees here, so that you can see actually how much value you're coming out on top or below on. So that brings me to the next feature, which is the timeline, or really this is your wallet flow. This is the flow of your credit cards. And right here, this timeline looks super like barren, and it's going to look a lot different when you see it. It's going to look more like last year, 2019. But we're going to set this up to where you can always see your previous 9 months of history, and then it'll be showing the next 3 months as well. And one of the reasons for this timeline is that it gives you a picture of the pace that you're running at when it comes to opening up new cards in a lot better way than like a spreadsheet. So when it comes to opening cards, maybe you're really trying to capitalize on rewards or trying to build credit or whatever you're trying to do. Well, having this kind of full picture of how many cards you've opened up in the last 9 months, I think is really helpful, because that kind of 6 to 9 month period sometimes can be sensitive for banks, and just having it at a glance is helpful. And you can also just go back in time if you want to see what you've opened up in the past, which is helpful. We'll get this timeline probably a little bit more smart in the future, but for now, this is kind of what it's going to look like. And so these bars show up at your account opening date, right? And they're organized in chronological order. So your newest cards are down here, your oldest ones are up here, and then they are also organized by color. So each issuer up here is going to have a certain color, and that's an easy way to find them. And then you can see your card name here. So this timeline here is going to really be tied to all of the features in WalletFlo as we integrate more and more. So the first way that it's integrated is with the annual fees button. Now, I don't personally love this setup here. I think we're going to move to tabs sometime in the future, but for now, we have these buttons here, and when you click on the annual fees button, what it's going to do is it's going to show you when your annual fee hits for your card. So obviously, just kind of ignore what's going on now. We're still doing testing right now and everything, so it's not going to look exactly like this. But and whenever we launch, you'll see your annual fee posted in the actual month that it's due. So this is like an easy way to have a complete calendar view of all of your annual fees and know when they hit. And the other view, which is pretty cool, is down here, which is the bar graph. And this shows you the total amount of annual fees due in each month. So you don't even have to do math at all. You can just look down and see, okay, this is how much I'm going to be paying each month, which can be really helpful for, if you're trying to budget things out, or sometimes you may not even realize that you have a lot of annual fees hitting at once. And in that case, you may want to go downgrade or upgrade, or downgrade a card or something like that. Which brings me to the next feature, which is the automatic upgrade and downgrade suggestions. So if you look on a card, if you hover over a card, you'll see the annual fee, and then you'll see the upgrade and downgrade options. And in this case, it also shows you the annual fee. So you have, the platinum with the $550 annual fee, the green card with a $150 annual fee. So this is great for beginners. They don't have to go around getting familiar with all the upgrade and downgrade options. And even for experienced people, I think sometimes you just sort of forget. But yeah, it's really helpful. You can check it for different issuers. Just to see that information right there is really convenient. And obviously, some cards have multiple upgrade and downgrade options or product change options. And we do plan on implementing a more sophisticated feature to utilize that. And again, I had mentioned about inputting your spend. There's the potential to automate the suggestions to say, hey, okay, based on your spend, you need to upgrade from, the preferred to the reserve, or hey, you're actually not getting enough value from this card, you should downgrade. So that is there to help users know what they should do with their cards so that they're not just blindly going in and making decisions or potentially hurting their credit score with, closing accounts. So and this is also when I think the all tab comes in handy, because if you and your spouse want to know, okay, how many total annual fees do we have together and when did they hit? Well, this is a great way to see, right? Because you can see your complete layout of the annual fees, and you can see the complete layout of all the cards you have and kind of go from there. So again, I know things are still a little messy with some of these things, but we're still not even at the beta launch yet, so we're still cleaning some things up, but it's going to be really helpful. So the last feature is the notification preferences. So I mentioned before that whenever you are not eligible for a card, you can select to get notified when you are eligible, and your notifications will just show up here. I'm sure eventually we're going to tie them to email, so you can imagine kind of signing up for a notification for a American Airlines card and then just forgetting about it, and a year and a half later all of a sudden you get an email saying, hey, you're eligible for the Advantage Gold or whatever, and then being able to jump on a card and get some miles. I think that the long-term approach is becoming more and more important. I think that any kind of like gaming or churning is almost completely dead, right? You have now restrictions that are requiring you to wait almost a half a decade to get a card again. And so the way to optimize rewards in the future is a very long-term kind of methodical way of doing things. So it's not gaming anymore, it's just kind of being strategic in the long term. And so that's what WalletFlo will also help you do, is to stay on top of things in the long run. And with the notifications feature, this is what this is really going to help you with. So you can get notifications like when you drop below 524, when rules no longer apply to your cards. It changes to credit card rules that affect your eligibility. So if a new rule comes out and affects your eligibility, you'll get a notification. Again, kind of preventing you from having to go and find information. And then whenever your annual fee is approaching in 30 days, you'll get a notification. And then, like I already showed you, you can get that easy upgrade, downgrade recommendation. And then there are a couple of other notifications that won't be on by default but can still help you. So you can get reminded to put spend on a card every 6 months. And that is really important for people who have a lot of cards and maybe forget to keep their cards active, and the cards end up getting closed and it hurts their credit score. So that is something that will be really helpful for people. And then a reminder to request credit limits. So this is more for people trying to like build their credit if they want to get a reminder to request that credit limit increase, 6 months is generally a good time frame. So again, in the future, we'll have more notifications to choose from, and they'll be a little bit more sophisticated and specific, but this is kind of what we're starting with. And then finally, there's this contact us feature. So whenever you have the platform, if you have any glitches that you come across or recommendations, you can click on it and then just send us a recommendation, describe it, and upload a screenshot if needed, and then we can jump on it as soon as possible. So this is WalletFlo. Again, we are getting very close to launch. I am anticipating a launch next month, and we're going to roll this out to beta testers here, hopefully in a couple of weeks. So that's the plan. If you have any questions or comments about the platform, feel free to let me know in the comments below. But it's coming together pretty good, and I'm pretty excited about it because I think it's going to help a lot of people and save people a lot of time.